Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast, focused on providing valuable information for anyone looking to undertake a new build or extension project. We'll share our tips, tricks and stories from a building designer's perspective.
All right.
Happy days.
Welcome to the Building Design Primetime Podcast. Once again, we welcome Frank Geskis.
Hey, Amelia.
And I'm your host, Amelia. And today we've got a really exciting topic to talk about. We're going to talk about illegal works.
I can't believe you call that exciting.
I think it's exciting.
Until you're caught with illegal works, then it's not really exciting.
Yeah, that's a very true point, yes.
For people to find out they've got illegal works on their property, it's not very exciting at all. They're like shattered in some cases. I bet, yeah.
Yeah, and I bet you've got some real pearlers up your sleeve to talk about of different stories of real shambles of problems that clients have had.
Yeah, but just explain what illegal works are. Or the PC way of describing it is as constructed works, where someone has decided to build something or extend or change within their house. It could be a commercial property too, and they never got the appropriate permits, i.e. building and plumbing permits for it. That's a real problem for some people, especially on residential. So you go buy a house, all looks great, looks awesome, fits the bill, exactly what you wanted, and you've got your name on the title, that problem's all yours.
Ouch.
Big ouch.
Sounds expensive.
Can be. We've seen whole extensions to houses. Look, the more common ones are there's a deck out the back, doesn't have a permit, has a roof over it. It could be a barbecue area. Sheds, carports, those types of things. They're the most common things people think, I can just pop that up, but you need a permit. And the basic rule that we use is if it can hold water and you've got to drain it, it needs a permit. Some people think, you get all these weird things in the industry, people might sell a shed or a carport. No, you don't need a permit for this and that and the other. Well, they're right to a point, but you've got to do your research. Who's to say they go get a shed built and they don't put it over a pipe? Put over a council pipe, stormwater, sewer, could be whatever. Or it's too close to the boundary, all these regulations that we meet, and it leaves them in all sorts of problems.
And are there any time frames in which you are required to rectify illegal works?
It depends from every municipality. That varies. Generally, they want it fixed straight away, but they usually give you 12 to 24 months to rectify.
I imagine some of the issues that crop up, they might even be on extensions that could be on quite old houses.
Oh, yeah. I've had some with extensions like 30, 40 years old, and there's no record of it at all. There's a record of the house, but there's no record of the extension.
So then how would that be triggered? Is it when somebody is looking to extend again or...?
Possibly, yes. That's one way. They're doing their own and the designer, well, we've found it where done the research, got the plans from the council, and there's nothing about this component of the house. That's weird. Do a bit more digging, and we advise the customer, but we can sort it out while we're doing the new works. So we can rectify it if it's fixable, or if it could be a case of just blending it into what you're doing if it meets all the requirements. So I've had whole second floors that are illegal. I've had whole houses that are illegal that I've had to go in and fix up.
Have you had anything that's had to be demolished?
A couple of them, yes. And they were real pieces of rubbish.
That sounds very bad.
It was real bad. I couldn't fix it. I said, this is not worth the effort to fix. Said, pull it down, let's start again, do it properly. Because you're going to make you do that anyway, because all when you do so much double handling trying to fix something, it's not worth the effort.
And it might even be cheaper, I guess, to
we worked
out.
It was definitely that way. This thing was a deck that had star pickets and any bits of sticks and rubbish holding it up. And we're going, this is just computer utter crap. There's no other way of putting it. It was just rubbish. And I showed the client, says, this is no good. They're sitting on bricks and, I've seen decks just sitting on bricks and things like that. Now, I'm only talking these small structures. And it's expensive, but it's not the end of the world. It's when, the classic example here, if you pull a structural wall out and you open it up, and fair enough, everyone wants the kitchen, living, dining, big open space in their homes. The older homes didn't have that. They want to have that open space. Then find, I put a hole in their wall, I had to put a lintel in. Well, it's a structural change, so that needs a permit. Because how do you know if that beam is suitable that the old mate Bob the builder went and put up there? He does a bit of work, on the weekend. And can it hold up the roof? I don't know. It's got to be assessed. Is it sitting on the right frame? Is it sitting on the footings? You don't know this. And as a consumer, you want to know that everything's, hunky-dory. So I've had some really other interesting items too. I remember once we had one up in West Launceston, and it was an old 50s house, mainly out of slip-form concrete. So the thing was built like a bomb shelter. They had a garage out the back. It was built exactly the same, no difference. Wasn't on the council records on permits or anything.
The whole house?
House was fine. The concrete bunker of a garage wasn't.
Oh, wow.
But it was built exactly the same as the house. And we argued with the council, it's not possible that this was done separately. You look at everything, even the depths of the formwork, you could measure it against the old house. And for some reason at the time, the council was being a bit belligerent about it and made us go through the whole box and dice, which meant we had to get a planning permit. We had to then get a structural engineer in to justify that it was okay, and thank goodness it was all concrete, It was literally like a bomb shelter. But it was painful to go through because it doesn't meet the current regulations. And this is the challenge that we have if we are asked to fix these things. What's been built doesn't necessarily mean meets the code. I've had plenty of people come to me, I didn't think we needed a permit for that. But I had a builder do it. Oh, okay. And you go and have a look. Well, what they called someone a builder, I call barely a handyman, and didn't know, let's be fair, his ass from his elbow, putting this thing together. Just chose some timber out of the hardware store or chose beam sizes. He didn't know, just having a bit of a stick his finger in his mouth and aim it in the air in a guess. And then that's only one part of it. Beam, what's it sitting on? Is it well supported? Is it braced properly? Does it sit on proper foundations? So that is what any designer or architect or engineer has to go through and figure out. So you're reversing the process. You have something, you've got to do it in reverse to figure out, is this thing adequate? So it's a lot of work and a lot of assumptions.
And I guess if it's done correctly at the beginning, it saves a lot of headache at the end because, one, it could cost a lot to try and rectify.
It's just crazy. The cost blows people's minds. The saddest ones I've had is where, I had a builder came in and he did all this work and he said anything that's inside the house doesn't need a permit. So this so-called builder, and you find out, you do some research in Tasmania, they have to be licensed. You do some research and the guy isn't even freaking licensed.
So how can they call themselves a builder?
Exactly. They're not a builder. You have to be licensed. No different. I can't be called what I'm doing without a license. I pay a lot of insurance and a lot of money to stay in business and do professional development to keep my license. So if you get someone in to do work for you, make sure they're licensed. And they said, I don't need plans for that. Don't believe them. Get it checked. They might be right, but I'm just saying you just check, double check with council, check with building surveyors, but actually just check with building surveyors and designers, and they can soon guide you in the right direction. Because there are some builders that are very ill-informed about the regulations. And there's some builders, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of builders that really do know their stuff and they're really good at what they do, but they run a really good business. But you know where I see most of the illegal works or the as constructed works?
Where?
It's when people buy a house and they've bought the problem. So,
yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's a big wow, because you buy a problem, you come under a thing called common law, which is, as I understand it, as insurance is buyer beware. So it's up to you to do your research.
So, well, I know for myself, when I've purchased a property, I have organised a building inspection.
Yep, good.
But, I mean, would they always... They might not pick that up, would they? Or would they normally pick up if it was...
But what do you compare it to?
Wouldn't they look at plans, council plans?
Would they? Have they?
I don't know. What's included?
Well, you've had a report done. What did they give you?
Oh, that's a few years ago now. I can't remember. But
They would have given you the report of the condition of the building at the time of their inspection.
that's right.
Yep. That's it.
But that's just of the building.
That's right.
Oh, so I could potentially have illegal works on my house.
Yeah, I can come around and check it out later. But, in saying that, I'm joking. Sometimes I can tell and can't tell. The proper process, you ask the owner. So if you're buying a house, and I don't care if it's a brand new house, ask for a copy of all the documents. Building drawings, engineering, if it's within the last 20 years, soil test, geotech, any type of report, planning permits, plumbing permits, all that type of stuff. You should have a copy of that as part of your house. Most people don't care, but it's valuable information about the biggest asset that you own.
Well, most people don't know, and I think that's the problem.
I'm still amazed when people come with an extension. Oh, I've still got all my original plans, and I've got photos when we built it. It's pretty amazing sometimes. People are so well, I suppose, keep good records. But as an owner of a home, I believe you should have all the copies of all your documents for your property. Copy of the title. You might have a loan, the bank holds your title, but keep a copy of your title. Keep a copy of your plans, your plumbing plans, everything that you have that's available at council, all your permits. So what I recommend, and I do it for friends and family, where they're purchasing property, I go through a process. And that is, I go through the house, I have a look, take photos, take notes, all that type of thing. Then I ask the current owner to sign over a document to give me permission, because under the Privacy Act, I can't access original plans from the archives. I then, once they get to sign that, I go down to the council, pay some money and get a copy of that. Then I can compare not just the plans but also the permits. I compare the whole lot to what I found on site. Then I've got two different things to compare to. Once I can compare the two, you can say, well, this is not exactly the same. Someone's added a room here, extended the laundry, infilled a carport for a garage, added a deck, added a pergola, whatever it may be. Add a whole second floor to the house, whatever, staircase. I can usually tell dodgy staircases because I don't fit. That sounds wrong.
Too much McDonald's? Or?
Yeah, I know. I've got, look, I'm 6'2", and I've gone downstairs in some older houses and I can't get my head clearance through there. And that obviously tells me it's wrong, because you've got to have minimum 2 metres clear from the nosing to whatever ceiling there is. But I've gone through some stairs that are so narrow, my shoulders are touching.
Oh, wow.
Down the sides. No handrail, no nothing. My shoulders are touched. I thought, oh, this is dodgy as. And to go, red flag goes up.
I reckon.
Yeah. Especially when I bang my head on the going down.
That's a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, that's a bit of a giveaway, the red mark on the forehead.
Oh, so that's why you come back to the office like that.
Yeah, that's right.
A big dent in the front of your head.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. Fascinating researching houses, and by comparing the plans, you can then see. Okay, you can start asking questions, and then you can see changes in materials, surfaces, and things like that. And if it doesn't have a permit, red flags go up. And you start asking questions. I did one for my brother just recently. He was looking at buying a house. Let me do the research. Had all the drawings asked for from council, received all those, And that's this magnificent outdoor entertainment area. Like, this was really cool. Inbuilt barbecue range, hood, sink, space for a fridge under a bench, and all the space to put nice furniture. And they put a gym over the back of it. Not one building or plumbing permit.
Wow.
But there was a planning permit.
Oh, so they were halfway there.
They never got the permits. They got the planning approval. They got the approval. Then as a development, they got approved. But for some reason, there was no building or plumbing permits.
So why had that been forgotten? Do they not know that there's a second step in the process, or?
Bottom line, I think that was the problem. So I've had that here as well, where clients are going, oh, I finished, got planning, no worries, I can start building. And we go, no, you've got to get a building and plumbing permit. You've got to make that application. Oh, I've already done council. No, this is a different part of council. So we spend a lot of time explaining this to customers. It's a 2, sometimes 3-step process, subject to what it is. So when I told my brother this, he was really bummed out, and he told the clients and says, and they openly admitted, says, how's that possible? We paid someone to do this for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They paid someone to do this. They paid the builder to do the extension. They expected him to get all the permits. He didn't. And that was 10 years ago.
So how does that work then? Is that then on him, or is that then on the client?
It is, but is he still trading?
Well, that's another.
Is he still alive?
Another question.
Is he still in the state? So it became a real problem. They ended up pulling the house off the sale, and they went and got it sorted out. I don't know if it's been back on the market. I didn't even look, but it was very interesting. And it could be as simple as that. They didn't put the permits in. Another classic is not getting your completion certificate. So it's all done, finished, and you've had some inspections, but the plumbing inspector might not have been done, so the thing was complete. So you've had the building inspection, but the plumbing inspection hasn't been done. That means you can't get a completion. And who's the person do you think is responsible for that?
Is it the building surveyor?
Well, partly, but he doesn't have to chase everyone to give him all the certificates. It's the builder himself. If he takes a contract on, it's his responsibility to finish the project. So the plumber works under the builder pays the plumber. He would expect the plumber to organise all the inspections, or vice versa. They discuss that. There has been so many cases in the last 10 years where that has not happened. So then they don't get a completion.
And so then what does that mean? Is that still classed as illegal?
Well, it will be when the permits run out.
Ah, so how long do the permits last for?
Generally 24 months.
Yeah,
Once,
right.
specifically after they put a start work notice in. So see how easy it's to get caught out? So as a homeowner, you should have in your contracts to say, I need my completion certificate. Because you don't want to get caught. You want to move for whatever reason. It could be an emergency. You need to sell the house. You need to move interstate, whatever it may be. Then you find out you're stuck with these problems because some clown didn't do his job properly.
It's a bit of a worry.
Oh, it's a serious worry. And that's why you should always ask for all the certificates at the end of it. And don't make the last payment until you've got those certificates. And you shouldn't move in either until you've got them as well.
Well, how does that work? Because I understand that there is a certificate of occupancy.
Spot on.
And there is also your certificate of completion. Now, what does that actually mean?
Occupancy is exactly that. You can occupy. And everyone wants that, but then they forget about the other bits.
So you can still move in even without a completion certificate?
Yes. That's here in Tassie anyway. I don't know what's exactly like in the other states, but I actually think it's a flawed system in a lot of ways.
Well, it really does make it, easy to miss that last step.
That's right.
Especially if you've already moved in. Oh, you've kind of forgotten about the completion certificate by then.
A quality builder will get that sorted. Yeah. So that's one side of the legal works, and see how easy to fall into that trap?
So easy.
Yeah. So then you as a homeowner, that's fine. You get extension, you expect that. But for you to buy, as I mentioned before, get the original plans, walk around the house. Now, that's not easy for everyone to read the plans, but if you get a builder friend, another designer, an architect, they'll be able to guide you through that. I've done it for heaps of people. And it's not a building assessment, it's a building check. It's permit checks, okay? So you still get the guys that do the assessment on the buildings. They're experts at what they do. This is checking for compliance.
So who does that in the state?
No, it's no different what you had. As in to actually do...
Yeah, who does the
what I said, sorry.
compliance? Who does the compliance? Because obviously you've got a builder that will check...
No one does it.
So why is there not a business for this?
I've thought about it.
Oh, I know. I'm sure you have. You've thought of everything.
You've got to be quite experienced at it, but I think that it's viable to do it for someone if they want to go out and do it. But it's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're going to break bad news to people. That sucks. And I've had to do that with my family a fair bit.
Wow, it must be hard. Like for anyone, not just family.
It's that emotional roller coaster. I bought this house, and then you tell them, well, this is dodge, this was never finished. You're called. Do you still want to buy it? And in some cases, I've had family, they still bought it, and then who gets called in to go and fix it.
Good old Frank.
Good old Frank, come in and fix this shit up. You don't mind doing it for friends and family, that's fine, because they can't do it. The illegal works are really hard to do. It's really hard because
really
you can't see. It's very specialised, and you've got to know structure. You've got to think of alternative solutions. The beams they've put in there to hold the floor up looks like pickup sticks. It's just everywhere. And we had one recently working with Drew, and he showed me this in the photos, and I smacked my forehead and said, what were they thinking? But we figured a way how to fix it once you break it down. But it took a little while and made suggested solutions, but you're thinking outside the box. If there's a builder involved, that is going to help out, that can work really well too, because then we can come up with multiple solutions. Sometimes we can't come up with solutions. Staircase is a classic example. You cannot fix a staircase properly. If you've got head clearance, you've got to chop part of the floor out, and that could be going into another room. And I can't afford to lose that space. If it's not wide enough, or how do you fit a staircase if it's not wide enough? There's a reason that they put it in so narrow.
Yeah, wow.
Head height's the problem. But the stairs themselves, what we call the rise and run, that's the biggest problem. When they get that wrong, you're ripping the whole thing out because the angle's wrong, the steps are wrong, everything's wrong. There's nothing you can do to fix it. Rip it out, start again.
Ouch.
And then it really doesn't fit. They're putting stairs where they shouldn't put stairs.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
It is. Handrails are another classic where they don't do the handrails properly and the openings are too big, compared to the code. Framing is another beauty where they just get the framing all wrong. Spoke to Steve down the hardware store. He reckoned to use this underneath the deck or the roof of the framing, the framing of the roof, and it's all wrong. Undersized. They could be in a bushfire area and they've built something and it hasn't complied with the bushfire. Conversion of, here's another beauty, conversion of garages or sheds into habitable space. There's an all-time favourite of mine.
I think we've talked about that one before.
Yeah. Well, you got what we call the shouse, but
yes.
I'm talking about where they've just gone and done it. And I've had some pretty ordinary jobs where people have moved into a shed and they've turned it into something that it's not. And it's not just sheds. I've seen old historic apple packing sheds turned into homes because they thought they could.
Without the permits.
Well, that's it, because it's just a shed. It was a farm shed or it was a car storage. So they've turned it from one class of building into something else.
Big no-no.
Big no-no. Very hard to fix. I fixed a few up, but it's expensive, it's awkward, it's messy. And you still don't get a great result rather than starting from the start. Yeah.
So then what happens if you have, say, an old house that would have been compliant back when it was built,
Yes.
but possibly it might not be compliant to today's standards. How does that work? Does it still class as being illegal works if you've, then looked at extending again or something like that?
Old house is an old house. It's like putting airbags in your FJ. They're not going to make you upgrade the house. But in Tasmania, there's a rule under the legislation if your extension is greater than 50, and there might be some other clauses, I'm only going off the top of my head here, greater than 50%, you actually have to upgrade the whole house to the current standards.
And that's on anything, like for, say, energy or thermal assessments?
Energy, bushfire, the lot.
Yeah, right.
So you got to be careful how you do those extensions. So that's where it can cause you a problem. But if you're doing a small extension to a couple of bedrooms, a lounge room, master bedroom, whatever it may be, to any age house, the actual house itself can be maintained. You still go through all those processes, but it doesn't mean you have to upgrade the whole house. But from a legal works point of view, that still applies, that we're only trying to get the extension to the current standards. But we can't sometimes. So then we've got to do performance solutions, which means we've got to meet the requirements under the building code, but then it's a whole new process. And it takes a fair bit of time and money to do that.
So it's just an alternative way of...
Yep, it is an alternative way of doing it.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of brain power sometimes when you're working with a building surveyor or certifier, depending where you're from. And that's hard work. And you're taking rather than designing it new, where you know the clear process, with a legal workshop, backwards and forth, backwards and forth, backwards and forth. You find another problem, fix this, find another problem, fix this. And that's why they're so painful. And a lot of designers and architects aren't interested in doing it because they are seriously hard to do.
Well, it's basically you have to be very good at problem solving.
And know the codes well and have good engineers, good building surveyors that are willing to work with you on that. So it's no simple thing. There is so much out there, and you can buy these problems.
So do your research. That's the take-home point.
Yeah, 100%. Do
Buy
your research.
beware.
Even on something that looks relatively new, do your research. Ask for the original plans. You can compare original to old. Funnily enough, here in Tassie, I've found anyway that stuff that's for sale stays on the net for a long, long time. And you can actually, and I saw one recently someone asked me to look at, and I found the original plans when it was for sale 7 years ago and looked at the new plans, and they did all these internal works, moved bathrooms and all that, and we found out it didn't have one permit.
Oh, no.
Yep, so they pulled out of the sale because, and then the council sent what they call in Tasmania, they call a building order to the owner. So fix your crap up. They only give you 3 months to respond, but they give you more time to get it fixed though.
So I guess for people that are out there wanting to renovate a bathroom, put a deck on or anything like that, there must be sort of a line in the sand. So there's certain renovations you can do without a permit.
That is correct.
So when does it become something that could...
Oh, there's a big question, Amelia.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes down to our legislation director's determinations. So you need to go talk to your designer, or architect or building surveyor. They're the best people to talk to. They know this part of the legislation and they can give you the right advice of, do I need a permit for that or not? Or is it no permit required?
I'm guessing it's mostly, and I'm making an assumption here, that it's for things that could be affecting structural...
Structural, plumbing, bushfire, landslip. Yeah, there's a whole heap of stuff that it can affect that you don't realise.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Huge. And you don't know until you get into it. Yeah, the other perler that's really hard to fix. If you're a rural block and they've done an extension, no permits, and they're on they're on a septic system, not only are you fixing the building, you've got to fix the septic system to the current standard to match the requirements of the house.
So that could affect heaps of stuff. Like,
You're virtually starting again.
wow.
So you're going to drop 30K. Easy. And you may not be a septic this time. You may have to go to a package treatment plant because the processes and systems are completely different. Imagine that. You bought a rural block, found the illegal works. Bad enough, the building's something you've got to get fixed up. And then also you've got to chuck another $30,000 on your wastewater system. You'd be pretty pleased about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it might break the bank a little bit.
Just a little bit. So, and that's why I really feel for people, because they're buying stuff without knowing, and I find it utterly wrong.
Please do your research.
100%. Research. And if in doubt, talk to your building designer, architect, building surveyor, or all of the above to try and get all the right information. Pay the money to get it checked out.
All right, we might wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, guys. Until next time.
See you guys.
You're listening to the Building Design Prime Time podcast.